Going to go over a couple observations from last night and then run you through L10s 16 and up for game week 27. Well, life comes at you fast in the NBA, and you need to be able to adapt to these changes, just like we do in Sorare. Just ask Adrian Griffin, hired before the season to coach the Bucks, went 30-13, but the team's struggling on defense, doesn't get along with the players, and he's out already. One of the things we were watching this week was Isaiah Hartenstein out last night, and we wanted to see where those minutes ended up. My expectation was Precious Achiuwa would play over 30, and Jericho Sims would be somewhere in the teens. That is not what happened. Jericho Sims actually got 27 minutes, Precious Achiuwa just 21. Both of them came up with decent point totals for their L10s. So we'll be monitoring this going forward. If Hartenstein is forced to miss more time, or if a report comes out that he's going to be out over the weekend, I think either of those guys are in play. Achiuwa is a 12 with a .84 point per minute. Obviously, he's been averaging less minutes, so you can bump those minutes up. You can bump that average up. The standard deviation for him is around 8. If we get minutes in the low 20s for him, I would expect his number to be around 20 points for an average. That standard deviation of 8 tells us that his range of outcomes on a normal basis would go from about 12 to 28, and then of course you get outliers. So if he plays more minutes, higher outlier. If he plays less minutes, a lower outlier. I think he's in play this weekend with a 12, assuming Hartenstein is still out. Sims, on the other hand, is a 5. So if he's going to play this many minutes, if he gets in the mid-20s in minutes, this is way above his season average. He's averaging 6.3. He is one of the most unproductive players in the league at .54 points per minute, so he really needs a lot of minutes. Even at 25 minutes, his normal outcome is going to be somewhere in that 13-point range. Not bad for a 5. Result from last night is a big outlier. He's not going to get 26 points very often, even in 27 minutes. Again, though, we're going to have to watch Hartenstein. If he's back, irrelevant. For the first time since Zubats went out with injury a few games back, Russell Westbrook played under 20 minutes. I think this may be more a result of going up against a dominant big like Anthony Davis, where they needed more minutes out of Daniel Tice and Mason Plumlee, as both their minutes were up. I would still be pretty high on Westbrook going forward. He actually put up about 30 points in his 18 minutes on the floor. He's playing pretty well. I wish I had some better options here at 17, but these are the best ones I can come up with. Kelly Olynyk in Utah. They were blown out last night by New Orleans. Played just 14 minutes. In games that are in the game, I think he's going to get more in that 17 to 20 range. But he is down a little bit overall from his season average. I think you can expect his average right now to be about 18. A standard deviation of 10 puts him somewhere between 8 and 28 in a normal outcome range. He will have those outliers where he's in the 30s, and he can certainly go higher than that, but not a great play this week. Utah has only one game over the weekend. It is a good matchup in Charlotte. Isaiah Jackson came back from concussion last night in Denver, played just 9 minutes. This was a surprisingly close game without Halliburton or Jalen Smith. Pacers were able to stick with Denver most of the night. Denver closed them out late. I don't know how much you can take out of this. I think he's going to have his games. He certainly is a productive guy when he's on the floor. 2 games over the weekend, both at home, Phoenix and Memphis. I'd like to see it first, but if you're willing to take that risk, Jackson does not need many minutes to get to those numbers. Only 13 on the year. If he can play in the high teens, you're looking at about a 20-point average, and that standard deviation of 10 can get him upwards of 30 pretty easily. Probably like him slightly better than Olynyk this weekend with the 2 games. Not sure if Cole Anthony is dealing with an injury or not, but his minutes are way down. He's played 16 and 13 in the last 2 games and been ineffective. And even 1 point per minute on the season, 24.5 minutes on average. If he can get those minutes back and get some of this production back, going to be a good play this weekend. There's L10 is so far under his season average. Looking at game logs, this is a guy who scored in the 50s. He scored in the 40s a couple times early in the year. Quite a few games in the 30s. 17 seems really low for him. He already tanked my contender for this week, so do I go back to him again this weekend? Yeah, I probably do. There's another level to this guy, and he's too good to ignore at 18 if he can get some form back. 2 games this weekend. 1 in Memphis and 1 at home against Phoenix. A 12 standard deviation. I would say his range of outcomes is somewhere between 10 and 34 with some high-end upside with more minutes. He's a guy I'll probably roll out there at 18 this weekend, whether I like it or not. Well, I've been hesitant to hit on Craig Porter because his price has been too high. Minutes have been really inconsistent. Last couple games with Karis LeVert out, he's actually been playing 20, 21, 22 minutes. This guy's good. 0.98 point per minute so far this season. Really impressive for a rookie. I'm not sure these minutes are going to stick, but with Tristan Thompson getting suspended, I think Cleveland's going to have to run some small lineups. he may be in there more. And even if that doesn't happen, Strus's minutes have been coming down a little bit. I think they may just be giving him a shot to see what he can do, and he's been pretty good. So he may be a guy to keep an eye on. I think his price is down in that $5 range. I've seen him go at auction for a little under $4. Maybe a guy to keep an eye on. Rui Hachimura in LA got 30 minutes last game with LeBron out. Even with LeBron, I think he plays in that 20 to 25 minute range, which is pretty much where he's been most of the season. 0.84 points per minute, so not super productive, but he can get you in that 19 range. 10 standard deviation tells you you're somewhere in that 9 to 29 on a normal outcome basis. And at 18, if he has a nice game, has an outlier to the north side of the 29, he can be pretty good for you. Santi Aldama got hurt. He's already been ruled out for Wednesday's game. I'm a little skeptical heading into the weekend. I was kind of hoping this would be his big breakout. He's at 19. Stash him away for later. Xavier Tillman, also Memphis, 0.95 points a minute. Pretty good. 19 L10. And this guy's got a high standard deviation at 12.7 because he's kind of all over the place. Last game, he was terrible. 11 points. A couple games ago, 43. So at 19, when he gets minutes in the high 30s, he's obviously a great play at 19. He missed a game here, then came back, then just played 16. So we'll see where he's at going forward. But now without Aldama, he may be forced into more minutes again. 17 to 43. Big range, and with 19 L10, if your range is 17 to 43, that's definitely worth playing. But at $8, do you want to pay the freight? Last one for today, as my wife's home early from work, and I'm going to wrap. PJ Washington in Charlotte, getting some nice minutes lately, 33 last game, and this could continue as they're making deals. Terry Rozier shipped out of town. His 35 minutes are coming off the board. They just don't have a lot here in Charlotte. If we look at his season averages, 0.9 points a minute, pretty good. 20 L10, still pretty low for him. Season average of about 25 and a half. We look at his game logs. He's been in the 40s a couple times, 30s. I think he's capable of that. And at 20, that's a pretty decent play. 11 and a half standard deviation tells you the high end for your normal range is somewhere in the high 30s, and the low end is probably in the low teens. So pretty big range of outcomes we're looking at. I think he gets possibly more minutes though, and so we're looking at the high end of that range, easily in play at a 20, and still only $5. All right, I got to run. I got things to do, but I'll be back tomorrow. Run over 21 and up for you. Give you any updates on things that happen in tonight's games, and any breaking news, of course. See you soon.